Hello, students. Welcome to your English class. Today I am going to teach you a poem, London's Summer Morning, written by Mary Robinson. Before I move on to the poem, I would like to share some information about the poet Mary Robinson. Now, Mary Robinson was not just a poet, she was an actress, a novelist, a dramatist. In other sense, you can call she was a very famous, a very popular figure. She was born in England and lived in the cities of Bristol and London. Later on, she also spent some time in France and Germany. She has written many dramas and novels, but her poems were very famous. Two of her best known prose are A Letter to the Women of England and The Natural Daughter. And both these prose dealt with the role of women during the Romantic era. I hope you have much information about the poet. So now we will move on to the poem. Now, the title of the poem, London's Summer Morning, itself gives you a hint what it is about. It is about a summer morning in London. How exactly a summer morning is in London, right? London, which is the capital city of England, a very busy city, right? Now let us see the poem. Who has not waked to list the busy sounds of summer's morning in the sultry smoke of noisy London? So the poet begins the poem with a question. He asks the readers that is there anyone who has not woke up to listen to the busy sounds of summer morning in the sultry smoke of noisy London? Sultry word means hot and humid. So how is the weather in the summer morning? It is hot and humid. And there is also a lot of smoke. Why is there a smoke? Now, in London, all the houses have chimneys on their rooftop, right? Why? Because it is a very cold place and every house has a fireplace in their house where firewood is burnt, and the smoke of the firewood comes through the chimney, making the area very smoky, right? So, how was the weather in the summer morning? It was hot and humid, and there was a lot of smoke in the surrounding, right? On the pavement hot, the sooty chimney boy with dingy face and tattered covering shrilly bawls his trade, rousing the sleepy housemaid. So, the pavement word means the footpath. Now, the morning was very hot because of the scorching sun, and when the rays of the scorching sun fell upon the footpath, the pavement, it made it hot too. And on this hot pavement, a sooty chimney boy was standing. Now, who is a chimney boy? A boy who is hired to clean the chimneys. I told you that every house in London has a chimney on their rooftop through which the smoke of the firewood comes out. Now, this chimney needs to be cleaned.
time and again. Now, these chimneys were very small in size, so it was not possible for a big man to enter into the chimney. So, for this work, usually a small boy was hired to go inside and clean the chimney. The sooty chimney boy. Why the chimney boy is called sooty? Soot is a powdery like substance which comprises of carbon. When the boy enters into the chimney to clean it, his body and face is covered with carbon. This powdery carbon substance, right? And that is why the poet calls the boy sooty chimney boy with dingy face. Dingy, gloomy, and drab face. His face looked very sad, very gloomy, and tattered covering. This chimney boy was wearing torn clothes. Shrilly bawls his trade. He shouts in a very high pitched voice, calling out his trade. Why does he shout in a high pitched voice to call out his trade? So that people could hire him for cleaning their chimneys, and he could earn some money, right? But this high pitched call of the chimney boy rouses the sleepy housemaid. So, who is the sleepy housemaid? The housemaid is the female domestic employee. She is the maid servant of the house. The chimney boy shouts in such a high pitched voice that the housemaid wakes up. At the door, the milk pail rattles. Now, at the door, who was standing? At the door, the milkman was standing with milk in steel cans. And these steel cans were making a rattling sound. The word milk pail refers to the vessels where milk is carried. It is the milk cans, which are usually made up of steel, and they make a rattling sound. So, at the door, the rattling sound of the milk cans could be heard. And the tinkling bell proclaims the dustman's office. And the tinkling bell, the bell sound announced that the dustman has come for his service. What is his service? His service is to sweep the roads. So, the tinkling bell announced that the dustman has come to sweep the roads. And when the dustman was sweeping the roads, there was a dust of cloud which covered the streets. See? While the street is lost in clouds impervious. So, the entire street was covered with the dust cloud, right? When the dustman was sweeping the streets. But it was impervious, means nobody could see anything through the streets. The street was covered by dust, right? Now begins the din of the hackney coaches. Now begins the din. Din means what? Noise. The noise of the hackney coaches. What are hackney coaches? These are four-wheeled carriages drawn by two horses. Having 6 seats for 6 passengers. Wagons. Wagons are vehicles used for transporting goods. Carts. Carts are also vehicles used for carrying loads pulled by a horse. While Tin men's shops. Tin men's shops, shops where objects are made out of tin. And noisy trunk makers. You have seen trunk, big boxes, yes, made up of steel or tin. So trunk makers were also making noise in their shops, and the tin men, they were also making a lot of noise, right? Knife grinders, you have seen people coming to sharpen the knives, right? They use a kind of a grinder in order to sharpen the knives, and it emits a lot of noise. So the knife grinders were also making a lot of noise when they were sharpening the knives. Coopers. Who are coopers? The barrel makers. Barrel. Barrel refers to the cylindrical storage cans, right? So the barrel makers were making barrels, and they were also causing a lot of noise. Squeaking cork cutters. Cork. What is cork? Cork is made out of bark of a tree. You must have seen that earlier the homeopathic medicine bottles had a lid which was made out of cork, right? And these cork used to be cut with a machine, and it made a squeaking noise. So the cork cutters were cutting the cork, and it was causing a squeaking noise. The fruit barrows cart where fruit is sold in the streets, right? Carts which sold fruit in the streets. Now the fruit seller was crying out to take to sell his fruits, and the hunger giving cries of vegetable vendors. So there were vegetable sellers as well. They were calling out the names of their vegetables so that they got sold. And hearing the names of the vegetables, you will feel hungry. That is why it says hunger giving cries of the vegetable vendors fill the air. So all these noises filled the air. Every shop displays its varied trade. So every shop started displaying their goods, their varied trade, their different goods. Every shop sold different items, and they started displaying their items. And the fresh sprinkled pavement cools the feet. Now you must have seen that when the shopkeepers open their shops in the morning, they sprinkle water in front of their shops, right? So here also same thing is happening. The shopkeepers were sprinkling fresh water in front of their shops, and cooled the that cooled the pavement, that cooled the footpath. And the fresh sprinkled pavement cools the feet of early walkers. So, all those who were walking on the pavement, their feet felt cool, relaxed when it touched the footpath. Why? Because the footpath, which was scorched up by the sun, was now cooling up by the water that was sprinkled on the pavement, right? The early walkers felt cool and relaxed when their feet touched the pavement, right? At the private door, the ruddy housemaid twirls the busy mop, annoying the smart prentice or neat girl, tripping with bandbox lightly. Here, the poet says that a red cheek housemaid spins her mop so quickly that she annoys a smart, skilled, neat girl. who was almost tripping, who was almost falling with the bandbox in her hand. Now, what is a bandbox? Bandbox is a box where we usually keep clothes for washing, right? So, a red cheek, healthy housemaid, a maid who is supposed to clean the house, keep the house clean, right? So a red cheek housemaid was spinning the mop so quickly that she annoyed a smart, skilled, neat girl who was almost falling down with the bandbox in her hand. Now the sun darts burning splendor on the glittering pane, save where the canvas awning throws a shade on the gay merchandise. So the sun rays fell upon the glittering glass window panes. Why it is said glittering? Because when the sun's rays fall on the glass, it creates a reflection, it creates a shine, a glitter. That is why it is said glittering pane. The sun's rays fall on the glass window pane and cause a glitter, cause a shine. Now the sun rays fell on every glass window pane except where the canvas, you know what is a canvas? We call it in Bengali or in Hindi tirpal, right? It is a kind of a material made up of plastic which you use as a shade to protect the shop or anything from sun and from the rain, right? So here we find that the sun rays fell upon every glass window pane, save meaning except where the canvas, meaning the tirpal, created a shade over the shops selling goods, right? Save where the canvas awning throws a shade on the gay merchandise. Gay refers to happy, merchandise refers to goods to be sold and bought, right? So there was a canvas, right? A canvas kept over the shops, right, to protect the goods from being wet by the rain, right, or to give shade from the sun. So the sun rays fell upon every corner, every glass window pane, except on those goods which had a canvas over it. The canvas created a shade over the shops, right? Now spruce and trim in shops where beauty smiles with industry. Spruce refers to neat and trim refers to smart, right? Where neat and smart shops where beauty smiles with industry. Now it is talking about the beauty parlor, right? Where beauty is brought with a lot of hard work. Industry refers to hard work. So in shops, which shops? In beauty parlor, where beauty smiles in the face of girls with a lot of industry, with a lot of hard work, right? So the beautician has to work hard in order to bring about the beauty in the face of the customers, right? Sits the smart damsel while the passenger peeps through the window watching every charm. So we find that beautiful young unmarried women. Damsel refers to beautiful young unmarried women who were sitting in the parlor and peeping through the window in order to see every charming object out in the street. Now, pastry dainties catch the eye minute of humming insects, while the limy snare waits to enthrall them. Now, there is a pastry shop, a confectionery. Confectionery is a shop where cakes, pastries, and all kind of sweet delicacies are sold. Now, you must have seen that in these shops, flies, humming insects are seen to fly over them, right? So here also in the pastry shops, humming insects could be seen flying over the pastries. And these humming insects, they had their minute small eyes. Insects, they had these humming insects, they had their small eyes upon these pastries, these mouth watering pastries. They wanted to feed on these pastries, so they had their minute small eyes upon the mouth watering pastries. While the limy snare, limy means kind of a lime juice which was prepared as a snare. Snare refers to a trap. Lime juice was prepared as a trap in order to enthrall the humming insects. Enthrall in order to attract, fascinate the humming insects, right? So, a lime juice was prepared in order to trap the humming insects, that the humming insects will come getting attracted by the lime juice and they will get trapped over there, right? This is done in order to protect the pastries from these humming insects. Now the lamp lighter mounts the tall ladder, nimbly venturous to trim the half filled lamps, while at his feet the pot boy yells discordant. Now, a lamp lighter. Now, you must have seen street lamps along the street, right? So, here a lamp lighter could be seen mounting could be seen climbing a tall ladder nimbly, very quickly, right? Venturous, as if he was willing to take a risk, right? So, this lamplighter, he was climbing a tall ladder as if he was willing to take a risk. Why he was climbing the ladder? To trim the half filled lamps. Trim means to cut in neat size. He was climbing the tall ladder in order to cut in neat size the half filled lamps. And at his feet, a pot boy. Who is a pot boy? A boy who serves drinks in taverns, right? So a pot boy was yelling, was shouting discordant in a very harsh tone. So this lamplighter was climbing the ladder in order to trim the lamp lights, in order to cut the lamp lights in proper shape. And at his feet, a pot boy, a boy who sells drinks in tavern, he was shouting in a very harsh tone, right? All along the sultry pavement, the old clothes man cries in tone monotonous. So, in the sultry pavement, in the hot and humid pavement, there was a man who was selling old clothes, right? And he was shouting on top of his voice so that people get attracted to him and buy his goods, right? That is the old clothes. And there was a lot of traffic in this area, right? Means there was a lot of crowd of people who had gathered in order to buy these old clothes, right? Now the bag is slightly opened. Now the bag was being cunningly opened, slightly opened, cunningly opened. And the half worn suit, sometimes the pilfered treasure of the base domestic spoiler, for one half its worth, sinks in the green abyss. Now, green abyss refers to the bag, right? The green bag, right? Which was very cunningly being opened. And what was kept at the bottom of the bag? A half worn suit, right? A used suit, a suit which has been used several times, such a suit which was sometimes a stolen treasure by a thief, right? A stolen treasure by a thief. This suit was kept at the bottom of the green bag. So what was the color of the bag? It was green. Abyss refers to the bag. The potter now bears his load, huge load. Who is a potter? We call it coolie, right? Who carry heavy loads, right? So now the potter was carrying huge load along the burning way. Why burning way? Because the footpath had become very hot because of the scorching rays of the sun, and the potter was carrying his huge load along the burning footpath. And the poor poet wakes from the busy dreams. So, the poor poet, why it is said poor? Because the poet feels pity on himself, and that is why he says, poor poet wakes from busy dreams. All this while the poet was busy dreaming, and finally he wakes up from his busy dreams in order to paint the summer morning. How he will paint? He will paint with colors and brush? No, he will paint with his words and phrases. He will compose a poem with his words and phrases about the summer morning, right? So, I end the poem here. In the next video, I will share the poetic devices, and also we will discuss some important questions, right? So, till then, bye bye.